the country, so the risk of snow will progress further southwards as well. But there's still a little bit of uncertainty about those exact details. We're still working on that, but it's going to be a cold week, Sophie.
OK, Chris, thank you very much. And that's the BBC News at 10 on Thursday, the 2nd of March. There is, of course, plenty more analysis of the day's main stories on Newsnight with Kirsty Walk, which is just getting underway on BBC Two. The news continues here on BBC One. It's now time to join our colleagues across the nations and regions for the news where you are. Good night.
Sophie, thank you. Tonight on BBC London, some schools closed, others restricted as teachers strike over pay. Good evening and welcome to the programme. I'm Luxmy Gopal. Members of the National Education Union have walked out again today. Hundreds of teachers joined picket lines and rallies across the capital. It's the second walkout by teaching staff in a dispute over pay. Some schools were forced to shut, many more restricted teaching. Our correspondent Tara Welsh has been following the strikes.
The Atacama Desert in Chile is the driest place on Earth.
On a normal day, like yesterday, 762 pupils are taught at Whitefield School in Barnet. But with teachers on strike, only some will have been in school today.
We've made the decision to open up for our most vulnerable pupils, which I think is crucial. We have to make sure that we look after and safeguard them. We'll also open up for our Year 11 and Year 13, our examination year groups.
Chris has been the head teacher here since September and says it's a tough time for school finances.
It is so very expensive.
The energy bill alone is £27,000 a year. Head teachers aren't striking, but he supports those that are.
It's not just about individual teachers' pay, it's about safeguarding the whole profession. And actually, if something isn't done now, then we will hit breaking point where we're not able to retain, and clearly we could see with all the stats we're not able to recruit those teachers that are leaving.
He says schools are making tough decisions like not increasing department budgets, only heating the building at certain times and closing earlier so lights and computers aren't running. While they're not obliged to, most teachers here declared whether they'd be striking.
I'm fighting for what I think me and my colleagues deserve. You know, my wife's a nurse. A year or two ago, the government was encouraging everyone to stand on their doorstep and clap because they're heroes. Well, now I'm struggling to keep the house warm for my wife and my baby that are at home. Yeah, that just doesn't really marry up in my mind.
At the end of the day, we've got to understand that teachers are humans too. So when they're striking, it's because they're going through something.
I understand why they're doing it. I believe that they are underfunded and underappreciated after kind of all the work that they do.
But without some sort of solution, London's classrooms will stand empty again. Tara Welsh, BBC London.
Well, we did ask the government onto our programme, as well as Conservative local politicians. Instead, we were given a statement from the Education Secretary. Gillian Keegan said in her statement, instead of sitting around a table discussing pay, the National Education Union will once again cause disruption for children and families in London. It went on to say children deserve to be in school and further strike action is simply unforgivable. Well, let's have a quick look at some of the day's other news now. Raids on 2 US sweet shops on Oxford Street have led to the seizure of £140,000 worth of fake goods. The crackdown by Westminster Council Trading Standards and Met police officers found illegal vapes, charging banks and cables that are being sold to customers at high prices. Kensington and Chelsea has promised to give many of its households a £100 rebate to help them cope with the cost of living. The borough also agreed to freeze general council tax. Meanwhile, councillors in Croydon have rejected a 15% increase in council tax. South Eastern Trains has confirmed it will reinstate direct off-peak services to Charing Cross on the Bexley Heath line. The new service, which is in addition to services on the current timetable, will run hourly Monday to Saturday and is planned to be effective from the 22nd of May. And an engineer has given up his job at Dyson to invent something to help millions of people in the developing world. Nav Sawney from Southall came up with a washing machine that runs without any electricity. The Mayor of London has been heckled and booed over his plans to expand the ultra-low emission zone at a heated People's Question Time event in Ealing. Defending the policy, due to come into force across all of London in August, Sadiq Khan made claims about some of those who staged a protest outside.
What I find unacceptable, though, is some of those who've got legitimate objections joining hands with some of those outside who are part of a far-right group who are... Let's call a spade a spade. Some of those outside are part of the far right. Some are COVID deniers. Some are vaccine deniers, and some are Tories.
The scheme is vital to reduce pollution in outer boroughs where it's said to be worse.
Experts around the world have never seen a policy so transformative. If it's good enough for those in central London, why isn't it good enough for those in outer London? Look, I don't think it's one rule for one in central London, one rule for another. I think clean air is a human right, not a privilege.
Mayor Sadiq Khan speaking earlier tonight. Let's get a check on the weather now. Here's Chris.
Hello. Well, it's been a lovely day today. Lots of blue skies and sunshine. The setting sun really lighting up these London landmarks at the end of the day from our weather watcher from Francis B. However, as we go on through the night, we're expecting more cloud to come back in off the North Sea. So, although you could see an early touch of frost towards the southwest of London in rural areas, temperatures by the end of the night will pop back up to around 2 or 3 degrees. Tomorrow, probably more cloud around, but the cloud's quite thin, about 300 metres thick. So, we're not going to get any rain from it, and I think the cloud will at times be prone to break. So, you might well see some sunshine. Temperatures about 8 or 9 degrees, still with a chilly northeasterly wind. Now, the weekend, similar weather on Saturday. Sunday sees a few patches of light rain, and then next week, it's set to turn a lot colder.
We'll be back tomorrow morning. That's about it from me and the rest of the late team here. So from all of us on BBC London, good night.